All right, so today we're going to dive into Matic, get a little closer with where this token is going, and is there a potential price leap going forward? My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to Tech Path. Got Evan Aldo right here with me.
Great to be here.
Yeah. Evan, there's a lot of stuff happening with the altcoins right now. Polygon is one of those that seems to be one, it's had a nice little run already, but there are people who are saying, analysts that are saying this might be just the beginning of the iceberg here. So interesting.
It could be. I mean, I've been in it since 15 cents. Probably the best investment I've ever made in my entire life. So
Gotta love it.
yeah, I love the project. Mark Cuban helped out a little bit when he bought it. So fundamentally, great project. Layer 2. There's nothing I really don't like about it.
Let's get to the story real quick. Matic price ready for a 67% rally as it reveals some bullish movement. So obviously we've seen a little movement. We're going to look at the chart here in a second. Bulls appear to be chatting or catching their breath right before a rally resumes is where they're looking at. Layer 2 faced some serious obstacles before, which it did have for the longest time. We were seeing some obstacles, both from a price perception and I think also just an awareness of what Polygon was doing. I think with where Polygon is going, NFT and gaming in general has really kind of opened up people's eyes to a layer 2 like Polygon. So it's definitely a little different. What are you seeing in terms of market cipher and how this might play out?
Yeah, so 67, I would say that's very optimistic. We definitely can have that. I think in the shorter term, our previous all-time high is about 40%, and I could show you a path to 40% that I've kind of mapped out in the charts. If you're not familiar, the golden pocket is the 0.618 fib level and the 0.65 fib level.
Yeah.
We tested it yesterday, bounced right off, looked nice. Now we're toying around with the 0.5 fib level. What I like here on Market Cipher B, let's zoom into Market Cipher B, is the VWAP right here, this yellow line coming up, and usually when it comes up, you print a nice green dot, and if it comes up, the most likely scenario we would have is something like this with the money flow. And we could go back to Market Cipher A and map out how high that would bring us to, and that would be a similar situation from about here to here. This would be about a 27% increase, a little bit more conservative estimate compared to that article, but nonetheless, that would be a really nice trade. 27%, about 240. And then what I like a lot is on these lower time frames, especially the hourly right here, it looks like we can, maybe have one last test of the golden pocket down here, but I like the money flow on the hourly and Market Cipher B just curving up like this. Usually this combined with the 12-hour VWAP coming up, once this little trigger wave here, once we have another green dot or actually cross over into the green right here, this would usually give us a scenario back here, which this was a 40% increase. We get a measuring tool over here, 40% increase, right? From about, let's take it out a little bit, right? From about here to here, 42, that would bring us up to about all-time highs.
Yeah.
I looked it over before. If you want to get an exact number, that would be about 260, around 260. Would be
at least matching its pace of what its historical has been.
And our estimate would be within the next week of when that would happen.
Yeah. So looking at that, and I want to just compare that to what we're seeing here because it has a lot of similarities with what you're talking about. Sentiment was holding out at 73.92, and amplification this was back when we scored it on, looks like on September 21st. Amplification had flipped a little bit, and this usually on our indice will paint the picture, which all of this was painted on whatever date this was, September 21st. And it pretty much stayed in line with what our estimates were, with the exception of this little bump out here, which is where it did hit the 226 mark and then started this little bit of retracement. But right now, the way this is looking, it puts it around 220, which is fairly conservative based on what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'd say that's a more conservative estimate, 220. Let's see what percentage that is. That would be the 220, that would be an 18% percentage. So if you went long on this, like I'm long on this right now, I think it's slightly in the red, but it's more of a swing long, more of a longer term long. I'm going to be taking some profits at these fib levels, around $2, definitely psychological. Maybe take 20% out, set my stop loss entry point, take a little bit more out at 2.6, and then I'm going to take, keep probably half the position in after 220 and then see where it brings us in case we do go all the way up to $3 or $2.50, at that point.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Matic when you look at the extended run of what's going to happen within the alt season and just Matic in general, do you feel like this is one of those during the altcoin season when we really see full-fledged altcoins on fly? Do you feel like this is a $5 token or something above that?
This could go to $10, maybe. $10. It could. I'd say at least in this bull cycle, given the fundamentals on it, given how many people like it. Mark Cuban behind it.
Right.
Till the end. Assuming how far this bull cycle goes into 2022, I'd say it's a safe bet. You'll go to $5. Pretty safe bet. You'll go to $10, maybe. That's probably 50-50. And then the highest it could probably go is 15 or 20, but that's all lower. That would probably be a blow off top.
So I guess for our viewers and listeners, Evan, is if this gets into the 190, 180 range, do you feel like that's a buy?
Right here would probably be a pretty good buy. You would, on this hourly chart, this would be a good place to go long. I went long a little bit more. If you're just buying on spot with no leverage, it's a definite buy right now. Just DCA into it or put a nice position in right now. Long term, you'll probably be okay. I mean, there's a lot of places you could earn a pretty high interest rate with this too. So
right.
That's one thing to look at as well.
Big benefit on just parking it and using Matic as kind of a leverage play into some yield opportunities. Just so you guys know, when we'll do these analysis, we'll take a look at market cipher. That's one angle. Our sentiment analysis that we'll use to kind of match up against it, see if it's something. Because what we're looking for are big, potholes, meaning either one signs for big corrections, because that's usually when we'll see people paper hand out, which is going to cause a problem on a slide for a token like this, or it's also when we'll see either this small and or incremental growth before a season hits, like what we're looking at right now with altcoin season. Now, when you look at what is happening over at Token Metrics, just to give you guys a third look at this, we use Token Metrics. They're one of the channel partners, but one thing you notice here on Matic is it was a late call, but they did call the bearish slide as it was happening back here, which was right around June. I guess it was right around mid-June when it started to slide really heavily after we saw the movement, obviously, back in May. And then a little bit of a bullish call right here, which seemed to hold. A little bit of bearish, which is getting a little bit more frequent. And then right now they do have it on the bullish bubble as well. So I think all things, when you consider all things, one, market ciphers flow and what the money flow is doing right now with Matic, sentiment on the market, insights behind Token Metrics, like you're saying, buying this under the $2 mark is probably a good position if you're trying to just get a bag going.
Yeah, I'd say it's more likely than not. Based on the technicals. Obviously, I always tell people anything could happen, but based on the technicals, I think it's more likely than not we continue forward from here rather than have another big correction.
What do you think about this in and out of the money around price? Because this is an interesting scenario where they've broken it down a little bit to kind of look at in and out of the money at $1.89. So basically what they're saying is that the $1.83 is really kind of the magic is in terms if you're doing short-term trading. And then obviously in anything over $2, it really gets a little bit out in terms of an opportunity anymore, unless you're just looking at a long-term hold.
That's very interesting because the $1.83 is right where the golden pocket is. I don't know if that's based off of Fibonacci or what they could be.
It was, yeah. This was part of that FX Street piece that they did, showing that that position as the one, and it was the one that the bulls were basically trying to retrace to for an enter point and to jump back into this one. So
that's a great, especially for a scalp trade, day trade. Usually I'd say 80-90% of the time the golden pocket will be a good place to go in.
When you look at the money flow right now, Evan, in comparison to what's happening with Bitcoin, kind of hovering around, Plan B, of course, was penning around 63K for the end of October. We ended up closing at 61. So he was off for the first time in 3 months. Interesting play on that. So with that money flow with things like Ethereum, especially when you look at projects like Solana, Cardano, et cetera, and then Matic kind of coming up, do you think there's any trouble with potentially Matic taking a big correction if we start to see a run on Bitcoin or Ethereum?
I think it'll be, the main thing you got to worry about is the Q4 Bitcoin dominance. Typically in Q4 Bitcoin, a lot of money comes out of these altcoins and goes into Bitcoin. That's the thing you got to worry about. You also have to worry about maybe say we have a flash crash down to 50K, something
Right.
like that. A lot of money is going to come out of these going to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
People get scared. When they get scared, they just buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
you fall back to your, your critical asset
Mhm.
layer, which is, of course, has been holding Bitcoin, and I don't know, to a certain extent, some on Ethereum. I've seen a lot of people looking at Ethereum as one of their Class A positions
Yeah.
to kind of almost reshuffle. And full disclosure, that's kind of been my case. I actually hold a larger position now with Ethereum
Wow.
than Bitcoin.
That's
But
I
that's
don't.
but
That's
that's
risky.
but that's Raul Paul,
Yeah.
talking to
Yeah.
me and going for it. And that's also, the gambler in me.
It's getting to the point where a lot of people are considering Ethereum not to be like an altcoin, to be like a blue
Right,
chip
right.
like Bitcoin. I'm
Well-
not to that point yet. I still have 60% of my holdings in
Yeah.
Bitcoin. I have definitely more Bitcoin than Ethereum, but
I
yeah.
think it's going to be, well, and I know we're talking about altcoins in general,
Yeah.
but Matic, when you look at the key altcoin being Ethereum leading the way out, if it does lead the way out and it hits its all-time high and can hold,
Yeah.
where Bitcoin has been able to do that to a certain extent, for at least a couple of weeks now, and I think that will be the big tell on Ethereum, because if it's getting up to that around 43, 4,400 and really holding that line, I feel like we're going to start to see some movement in some of these alts in a big way.
Definitely.
So very cool. All right, so Matic, if you guys are in it, I'd love to hear your comments, because we are interested in, these are traditional altcoins, and I say traditional meaning that, it's the blue chippers out there, but most likely you guys have some altcoins that you're following and or are looking at. Maybe there's something there that we can take a look at a little bit deeper for you. Of course, happy to do that. Jump it down into the comments below. If you're listening to the podcast, the best way to reach out to us, of course, is come over to the YouTube channel. It's real simple. You can just search Paul Barron Network. You'll find it. And the best thing you can do is you're going to get both Evan's charts and his analysis on Market Cipher. You're going to get a chance to see and listen to all of these great CEO interviews and lead developers. That's a big one. But also, you got to join the Diamond Circle, because that's the big one where we're giving away digital asset rewards, dropping additional technical analysis and sentiment analysis on tokens, and it's free. Just hit the link below. If you guys want to reach me direct, it's @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.